Ji Woo sat alone in the corner of the academy cafeteria, watching the other students laugh and talk in their tight groups. She had been at Seoul Galactic Academy for 2 years now, and still nobody really knew her name. When instructors called on her in class, they sometimes hesitated, like they had to remember who she was first. She was used to it by now. The academy was huge and impressive, with tall glass walls that looked out into space. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago, and now young people from all over the planet came here to learn about aliens, space politics, and military strategy. Ji Woo had scored well enough on her tests to get in, but once she arrived, she quickly realized that test scores were not the only thing that mattered. The popular students were loud and confident. They spoke up in every class and made friends easily. Ji Woo was quiet. She preferred to watch and listen. At the table across from her, Tae Hyan was holding court as usual. He was tall and handsome, with perfect grades and a smile that made everyone like him instantly. Other cadets crowded around him, hanging on his every word. He was talking about the tactical simulation they had run that morning, where his team had won easily. Ji Woo had been on the opposing team. She had noticed a flaw in Tae Hyan's strategy, a gap in his defense that her team could have exploited. She had pointed it out to her team leader, but he had waved her off. They lost the simulation badly. Gawoo, right? A voice interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to see Hana standing there with a tray of food. Hana was in the engineering track, not tactical like Ji Woo. She had curly hair and wore glasses that were always a little crooked. "Can I sit here?" Ji Woo nodded, surprised. People rarely approached her. Hana sat down and started eating, chatting about her day in the workshop. Ji Woo listened, grateful for the company, but not sure what to say. Hana did not seem to mind. She talked enough for both of them. After lunch, Ji Woo went to her advanced analysis class. Commander Dara, a stern woman with gray hair pulled back tight, was teaching them how to read intelligence reports from different alien species. Each species communicated differently, and learning to spot patterns was crucial for future officers. Ji Woo loved this class. While other students got bored reading through pages of data, she found it fascinating. She saw connections that others missed, patterns in the numbers, and words that told a bigger story. Today's lesson was about trade routes. Commander Dara displayed a star map on the big screen, showing how different species moved goods across the galaxy. Ji Woo stared at the map, her mind working. Something was odd. 3 different alien species had changed their trade routes in the past month. The changes seemed small and unrelated, but they all avoided the same region of space. It was like they were going around something, taking longer paths for no obvious reason. She raised her hand slowly. Commander Dara looked surprised to see her hand up. "Yes, Ji Woo?" "The trade routes," Ji Woo said quietly. 3 species changed them. They are all avoiding the Outer Rim sector. Why would they do that? Commander Dara frowned at the map. Trade routes change for many reasons. Economic factors, political relationships. I would not read too much into it. Tae Hyan, sitting in the front row, turned around and smirked. "Maybe they just found better prices elsewhere," he said, and several students laughed. Ji Woo felt her face grow warm. She looked down at her desk and did not speak again for the rest of class. But that night, alone in her small dorm room, Ji Woo could not stop thinking about those trade routes. She pulled up the data on her personal tablet and studied it for hours. The pattern was definitely there. It was not just about economics. These species were avoiding that sector deliberately, and they had all started doing it around the same time, about 6 weeks ago. She made notes. Cross-referencing with news reports and diplomatic communications she could access through the Academy network. There was nothing obvious, but small things caught her attention. A mining station had gone silent. A science vessel had missed 2 check-ins. A merchant ship had disappeared, all in or near that same sector. All explained away with technical problems or scheduling errors. The next day was the big diplomatic reception. The Academy hosted it every year, inviting alien ambassadors from across the Galactic Council. It was a chance for cadets to network and make connections that could help their future careers. The important students like Tae Hyan got to attend the main hall and talk with the ambassadors. Students like Ji Woo got assigned to set up and clean up duty. Ji Woo did not mind too much. She helped arrange chairs and set up food tables in the grand hall. The ceiling was transparent, showing the stars and the curve of Earth below. Alien dignitaries began arriving, their forms strange and wonderful. There were insectoid Vrin with their clicking speech, tall blue-skinned delegates from the Unity worlds, and floating gas beings who communicated through color changes. As the evening went on, Ji Woo refilled drink dispensers and cleared empty plates. Most people did not even notice her, which meant she could listen to conversations without anyone realizing she was there. She moved through the crowd like a ghost, invisible but always paying attention. Near the tall windows, she saw Ambassador Velther, a Vrin representative, speaking quietly with 2 other aliens. Their body language was tense. Ji Woo moved closer, pretending to clean a nearby table. "The silence from the frontier concerns us greatly," one alien was saying. His voice translated through a device on his collar. 7 outposts now, Velther clicked. No contact. The council says equipment failures, but 7? All at once? And the ships that went to investigate? Nothing. No wreckage, no survivors, no data. Just gone. Ji Woo's heart began to beat faster. The Outer Rim sector. They were talking about the same area she had noticed. She wanted to hear more, but at that moment, Tae Hyan's loud laugh echoed across the hall. The alien stopped talking and moved away. Ji Woo finished her shift and immediately went to find Commander Dara. She explained what she had heard, showed her notes about the trade routes and the missing stations. Commander Dara listened with a frown. "I will pass this up the chain," Dara said finally. "But Ji Woo, you need to understand something. The Council has people whose entire job is watching for threats. If there was really something wrong, they would know. You are just a cadet. Do not let your imagination run away with you." Woo nodded and left, but she felt a cold certainty in her gut. Something was wrong. Something was out there in the dark between the stars, and everyone was missing it. 3 days later, the alert sirens woke the entire academy at dawn. Ji Woo stumbled out of bed and checked her tablet, her hands shaking. The news was spreading fast. 2 colony worlds had gone dark overnight. No communications, no distress signals. Just silence. The war had begun, and nobody had seen it coming. Nobody except the quiet girl in the corner that everyone ignored. The academy transformed overnight. Students who had been studying diplomacy and theory suddenly found themselves learning real military tactics. The glass walls that showed the peaceful stars now displayed tactical maps and fleet movements. 3 weeks had passed since the first colonies went silent, and now 6 more human settlements and a dozen alien outposts were under attack. Ji Woo sat in what used to be a lecture hall, now converted into an emergency operations room. Dozens of screens showed data streaming in from across council space. The enemy called themselves the Corvith, and they were unlike anything the Galactic Council had faced before. Their ships appeared without warning, struck hard and fast, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Their technology was advanced, their tactics brutal and efficient. Admiral Kwan stood at the front of the room, his face lined with exhaustion. He was Earth's highest-ranking military officer, and the weight of the war showed on him. Behind him, Holographic displays showed red markers spreading across the galactic map like a disease. Another supply convoy destroyed, an officer reported. 17 ships lost. No survivors. Admiral Kwan rubbed his face. How are they finding our convoys? We change the routes every time. Ji Woo had been called to these briefings after her earlier warnings were finally taken seriously. She sat in the back, still not quite believing she was allowed in the room with all these important officers and strategists. But she had been right about the threat, and now Admiral Kwan wanted her insights. She studied the map carefully, her mind working through the patterns. The Corvette attacks looked random at first, but they were not. There was a logic to them, a method. They were testing the Council's defenses, probing for weaknesses. They are learning our behavior, Ji Woo said quietly. The room went silent. Dozens of eyes turned to look at her. She felt her face grow hot, but forced herself to continue. Each attack gives them more data about how we respond. They know we change convoy routes, so they are not tracking the routes. They are tracking our decision patterns. Admiral Kwan leaned forward. Explain. When we plan a convoy route, we avoid dangerous sectors and choose paths with good communication relay coverage. Those parameters limit our options. The Corvette have figured out our planning algorithm. They know where we will send ships before we send them. A senior officer, Commander Beak, shook his head dismissively. That is pure speculation from a cadet. We cannot change our entire strategy based on guesswork. Then let me prove it, Ji Woo said, surprising herself with her boldness. Show me the next planned convoy routes. I will tell you where the Corvette will attack. Admiral Kwan studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Do it. They gave her access to 3 planned convoy missions. Ji Woo spent an hour analyzing them, considering the Corvette's previous attack patterns and the mathematical models that governed Council route planning. Then she marked 3 locations on the map. Here, here, and here, she said. These are the most likely ambush points based on their pattern. The convoys launched the next day with heavy military escorts. Ji Woo barely slept, checking updates constantly. When the first convoy reported enemy contact at exactly the location she had predicted, her heart jumped. The escort was ready and fought off the Corvette attack. The second convoy encountered enemies at her second predicted location. The third never saw combat because Ji Woo's prediction allowed them to reroute in time. Admiral Kwan called her to his office. You saved hundreds of lives today, he said simply. I am assigning you to the strategy division permanently. Whatever you need, you have it. But success brought new problems. Senior officers took credit for the predictions in their reports to the Council. When Ji Woo entered the cadet common room, Tae Hyen and his friends still mocked her. I heard the ghost got lucky with some guesses, Tai Hyen said loudly, using the nickname some cadets had given her. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Only Hana remained her true friend, staying up late to help Ji Woo crunch numbers and analyze data. Ignore them, Hana said. You are saving lives. That is what matters. The worst news came 3 weeks later. Hanziang Colony, home to 2 million people, was under massive attack. The Corvette had committed a huge fleet, far more than any previous engagement. Ji Woo watched the live feed in horror as the colony's defenses crumbled. Captain Yuna, commanding the colony's defense, sent desperate messages. They are using psychological warfare. They know our weaknesses. They know which of our species panic under bombardment, which ones break formation when overwhelmed. It is like they have studied us for years. Ji Woo grabbed the communication console. Captain Yuna, this is Cadet Ji Woo at Fleet Command. They have studied you. Every battle gives them more data about Council species psychology and tactics. You need to do something unexpected something not in standard doctrine. Like what? Yuna's voice was strained, explosions audible in the background. Ji Woo thought frantically. The Corvith were predicting Council moves, because Council forces always followed training and procedure. Retreat, she said. Pull back your entire fleet in apparent panic. Make it look like you are running. They will pursue aggressively, because that is what they expect. Then have your fastest ships circle back and hit their flanks while they are focused on the chase. There was a long pause. That goes against every tactical manual. The manuals are exactly what they are counting on. Ji Woo insisted. Captain Yuna made the call. The Council fleet retreated in seeming disorder. The Corvith fleet, sensing victory, broke formation to pursue. At the critical moment, Yuna's strike force hit them from behind. It did not win the battle, but it bought time for civilians to evacuate. 50,000 people escaped, who would have died otherwise, but 1.5 million did not. Ji Woo watched the casualty reports come in and felt sick. She had helped save some, but so many were still lost. Admiral Kwan found her sitting alone in an empty briefing room at 0300 hours, staring at nothing. You cannot save everyone, he said gently. This is war. All we can do is save who we can. I should have seen it coming sooner, Ji Woo whispered. The pattern was there. You saw what no one else did. Because of you, we are starting to understand how they think. That will save lives in battles to come. He paused. I am assigning you to the reconnaissance vessel Magongwa. We need someone with your skills on the front lines, gathering intelligence where it matters most. Ji Woo looked up at him, fear and determination mixing in her chest. When do I leave? Tomorrow morning. Pack light. That night, Ji Woo stood at the observation window, looking at Earth below. Somewhere down there was her family, her little sister Sora, her parents. They were depending on her, on all of them, to stop the Corvith before they reached the homeworld. Hana found her there. You are really going out there, she said softly. Someone has to, Ji Woo replied. I requested a transfer. Engineering position on the Magongwa. They approved it. Hana smiled at Ji Woo's shocked expression. You are not doing this alone, friend. The next morning, Ji Woo boarded the shuttle to the Magongwa with a small bag of belongings and a head full of enemy patterns. The ship was a sleek reconnaissance vessel, designed for stealth and speed rather than heavy combat. As they undocked and accelerated away from Earth, Ji Woo pressed her hand against the window. She was heading toward the war, toward the darkness where the Corvith lurked. She was terrified, but she was also ready. The quiet girl who everyone ignored was about to become something more. She just did not know it yet. 6 months into the war, the Machingwood drifted silently through deep space, running on minimal power to avoid detection. Ji Woo floated in the observation blister, studying the darkness ahead. Somewhere out there, hidden among the stars, was Corvith territory. No council ship had penetrated their space and returned to tell about it. Captain Minho found her there. He was a veteran of 40 years in space, with scars on his hands from a hull breach long ago. Unlike the officers at the academy, he had respected Ji Woo from the moment she came aboard. Still working on your theory? He asked. Ji Woo nodded. Their sensor arrays. Every ship we have encountered uses the same scanning pattern. There is a gap, a blind spot. If we approach at precisely the right angle, stay below a certain energy signature, we could slip through undetected. And if you are wrong, we die, Minho said matter-of-factly. The Council is losing this war, Ji Woo. We have retreated on every front. Earth itself will be threatened within a year if nothing changes. High Command will not approve a risky stealth mission based on pattern analysis. Then we do not ask permission, Ji Woo said, meeting his eyes. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled grimly. I was hoping you would say that. Let me talk to the crew. An hour later, the senior officers gathered in the tiny briefing room. Lieutenant Bora, the weapons officer, crossed her arms skeptically. You want us to fly into enemy territory on a hunch? We are a reconnaissance ship, not a miracle worker. It is not a hunch. Ji Wu pulled up her analysis. I have studied every sensor log from every encounter. The Corvith ships always scan in a rotating pattern, but there is a 30-second window where certain approach vectors are blind. If we time it perfectly and keep our energy output below 0.37 standard units, we will be invisible to them. And if their newer ships have different sensors? Bora challenged. Then we adapt or die, Hana said from her station. Same as every day in this war. But Ji Wu has been right about everything else. I trust her math. Minho looked around the table. I will not order anyone to come. This is volunteer only. But if we can find their homeworld, map their infrastructure, learn their weaknesses, we could change the entire course of this war. Or we could die trying. Vote now. Who is with me? Every hand went up, even Bora's, though she shook her head like she could not believe what she was doing. The Magangwa changed course, accelerating toward the Forbidden Zone. For 3 days they traveled, every crew member tense and alert. Ji Wu barely slept, constantly checking and rechecking her calculations. If she was wrong, she would be responsible for the deaths of 43 people. On the 4th day, they detected a Corvith patrol. 2 ships, Corvette class, Bora reported. They have not seen us yet. Take us to intercept vector, Minho ordered. Ji Wu, this is your show. Tell us what to do. Ji Wu's mouth was dry. She pulled up the real-time sensor data, overlaying it with her predicted blind spot. Reduce power to life support minimum. Adjust course 7 degrees port, 3 degrees down. Velocity 0.15 c. When we pass the first ship, count to 37 and adjust course again. The Magangwa glided forward like a ghost. On the main screen, the Corvette ships grew larger. They were brutal-looking vessels, all sharp angles and weapon ports. Ji Wu watched the distance close. 1,000 kilometers. 500, 200. They passed within 50 kilometers of the first Corvith ship. Nobody breathed. The seconds ticked by. 37 seconds. Course adjustment now, Ji Wu whispered. 4 degrees starboard. The Magangwa banked gently. They passed between both patrol ships and continued deeper into Corvith space. The patrol never noticed them. By all the stars, Bora breathed. It actually worked. But Ji Wu could not relax. They were deep in enemy territory now, where one mistake would mean death. For 2 weeks they crept through Corvette space, dodging patrols and mapping everything they found. The crew worked with incredible precision, following Ji Wu's navigation instructions exactly . And then they found it. The Corvith homeworld, massive and covered in cities and orbital platforms. Thousands of ships in orbit, massive shipyards building new vessels, supply lines stretching to mining operations and industrial stations. Record everything, Minho ordered quietly. Full spectrum scans. We need every detail. Hana worked frantically at her station, downloading as much data as possible. Military installations, power generation, communication networks, fleet deployments. It was all there, the entire Corvith war machine laid out before them. Contact! Bora suddenly shouted. Destroyer class, coming about. They see us. How? Ji Wu demanded, pulling up sensor logs. Then she saw it. They had drifted 0.02 degrees off the optimal stealth vector while scanning. Such a tiny error, but enough. All power to engines, Minho barked. Get us out of here. The Magongwa leaped forward as Corvith ships converged from all directions. Weapons fire lit up the darkness. The ship shook as near misses detonated close by. Jump drive charging, Hana reported, her voice strained. 90 seconds. They would not have 90 seconds. More Corvith ships were closing in, and the Magongwa's light shields would not hold for long. G-Wu studied the tactical display frantically. The enemy ships were following standard pursuit patterns, cutting off escape vectors. But patterns could be predicted. Captain, heading 270 Mark 35. Full speed. That takes us deeper into their territory, Bora protested. Trust me. Minho did not hesitate. Do it. The Magongwa dove into what looked like a trap. 6 Corvith ships converged on their position, weapons charging. At the last second, Ji-Woo shouted, hard reverse thrust, rotate 180, then jump. The maneuver was insane. The ship groaned with stress as engines fired in opposing directions. The crew was thrown against the restraints. But the sudden reversal put them exactly where the Corvith did not expect, buying precious seconds. Jump drive ready. Hana screamed. Jump. Minho ordered. Reality twisted. The Magongwa vanished from Corvith space in a flash of light, reappearing thousands of light years away in Council territory. Alarms blared, systems sparked, but they were alive. The crew sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then someone started laughing, and soon everyone joined in. The laughter of people who should be dead, but somehow were not. They limped back to Council space over 3 days, arriving at Fleet Command with the most valuable intelligence of the entire war. Admiral Quan met them personally at the dock. You disobeyed orders, he said sternly. Then he smiled. And you may have just saved the Council. The data you brought back is priceless. But in the command center, when Ji-Woo presented her findings, several senior officers questioned everything. Can we trust this information? One asked. It could be a trap, false data planted for us to find. We nearly died getting this, Ji-Woo said, anger creeping into her voice for the first time. The Corvith homeworld is real. Their supply lines are real. This is what we need to turn the tide. Another officer frowned. Perhaps, but acting on intelligence from an overlooked cadet, however talented, requires careful consideration. Ji-Woo felt the familiar frustration rising. Even now, after everything, they still doubted her, because she was young and quiet, and had not come up through traditional channels. Admiral Quan stood. I have considered it carefully. We are implementing Ji-Woo's strategic recommendations immediately. Anyone who disagrees can file a formal protest. He looked directly at Ji-Woo. You are promoted to strategic analyst, effective immediately. Your next assignment is to design a counteroffensive using this intelligence. We are done running. It is time to take the fight to them. That night, back on the Magongwa, Ji-Woo stood at the observation window again. Somewhere out there, the Corvith were still coming. But now the Council had a chance. A real chance. Hana joined her, offering a drink pack. The quiet girl who nobody noticed just changed the war, she said. Ji-Woo smiled slightly. The war is not over yet. No, Hana agreed. But now we can win it. 9 months into the war, Ji-Woo stood before the full Council Assembly. The vast chamber held representatives from 47 species, all watching her with varying degrees of hope and skepticism. She was 20 years old, wearing a crisp uniform with rank insignia that still felt strange on her shoulders. Strategic analyst. It sounded important, but she still felt like the ignored cadet from Seoul Academy. The Corvith are winning because they understand us better than we understand ourselves, Ji-Woo began, her voice steady despite her nerves. They exploit our predictable tactics, our species-specific weaknesses, our inability to coordinate effectively. But I have designed a strategy that uses those same principles against them. The holographic display lit up, showing a complex battle plan. Operation Silent Thunder. Simultaneous strikes on 17 Corvith supply lines across 3 sectors. Each strike force will be mixed species, combining each race's unique strengths. High Counselor May, an elderly Earth diplomat, raised her hand. Mixed forces have been tried before. The coordination problems are insurmountable. They were insurmountable because we tried to make everyone fight the same way, Ji Woo countered. This plan does the opposite. The Vryn are natural ambush predators, so they lead the stealth attacks. The Unity World species can operate in high radiation, so they hit the targets near stellar activity. Humans adapt quickly to chaos, so we coordinate the unexpected elements. Supreme Commander Rathfor, a massive alien with 4 arms, rumbled disapprovingly. You are a child with no battlefield experience, proposing we restructure our entire military doctrine. This is foolishness. Admiral Quan stood. This child predicted every major Corvith offensive for 3 months. She infiltrated their home system and returned with intelligence that everyone said was impossible to obtain. I trust her strategy. The debate raged for hours. Traditional commanders hated the plan because it broke every established rule. Younger officers supported it because traditional tactics were failing. Finally, a vote was called. The plan passed by 3 votes. Operation Silent Thunder launched 2 weeks later. Ji Woo coordinated from the command center, surrounded by screens showing 17 different battles simultaneously. Her heart pounded as the strike forces moved into position. The first target was a fuel depot near a red giant star. A Unity World squadron, protected from radiation that would kill other species, dropped out of hyperspace right on top of it. The Corvith defenders never expected an attack in such a hostile environment. The depot exploded in a brilliant fireball. Target 2, Target 3, Target 4. The reports came in rapid succession. Some missions went perfectly. Others ran into complications. A Vryn ambush team took heavy casualties when Corvith reinforcements arrived early. A human strike force had to improvise when their primary target was more heavily defended than intelligence suggested, but Ji Woo had planned for improvisation. Team 7, redirect to secondary target, she ordered calmly. Team 12, pursue retreating enemy vessels. Do not let them report our full strength. Tae Hyan was leading one of the human squadrons. He listened to Ji Woo's orders without question now. All his earlier arrogance burned away by months of war. Acknowledged, command, pursuing. By the end of the day, 15 of 17 targets were destroyed. Corvith supply lines were cut, leaving thousands of their forward units stranded without fuel or ammunition. For the first time in the war, Council forces had inflicted a strategic defeat on the enemy. The victory celebrations were brief. Everyone knew the Corvith would respond, and they did. But their counterattacks were weaker, their ships running low on supplies. In the following weeks, Council forces won 6 major engagements. Worlds that had been under siege were liberated. Refugees began returning home. Ji Woo was promoted again to full commander. Leaders who had dismissed her now sought her advice. The quiet girl who used to sit alone in the cafeteria was now briefing admirals and counselors daily, but success brought new burdens. One night, unable to sleep, Ji Woo found herself in an empty observation lounge. Earth was visible through the window, peaceful and blue. Somewhere down, there was her family. Her sister Sora had sent a message that week, full of excitement about her big sister, the war hero. Her parents had written too, proud but worried. You should rest, a voice said. Tae Hyan entered the lounge, looking as tired as she felt. Big briefing tomorrow. Cannot sleep, Ji Woo admitted. Tae Hyan sat down nearby. There was a long silence. Finally, he spoke. I owe you an apology. At the academy, I was cruel. I thought being smart and popular made me special. Turned out being actually intelligent and seeing what others miss, that is what special looks like. He paused. You saved my life twice now with your strategies. I just wanted to say thank you, and I am sorry. Ji Wu looked at him, surprised. We were all different people before the war. Some of us needed to be different, Tae Haiyan said. You were already who you needed to be. The rest of us just could not see it. The next morning brought worse news. Long-range sensors detected a massive Corvette fleet, the largest yet assembled, heading toward the solar system. Toward Earth, the emergency council meeting was chaos. They are sending everything, Admiral Quan said grimly. 3,000 ships. They are not raiding anymore. This is an invasion fleet. How long until they arrive? High Counselor May asked. 48 hours. Panic erupted in the chamber. Earth's defenses were strong, but not strong enough to stop 3,000 ships. The planet had 8 billion people. Evacuation was impossible. We need to pull back all forces to defend Earth, Supreme Commander Rathfur demanded. Abandon the outer territories. Concentrate everything at the homeworld. That is exactly what they want, Ji Wu said, her mind racing. If we pull back, they will destroy our forward bases unopposed. Then they will hit Earth with no harassment on their supply lines. What choice do we have? May asked desperately. Chi Wu stared at the tactical display, seeing patterns within patterns. The Corvette had committed their entire reserve fleet. They were confident, maybe overconfident. And confidence made you predictable. We defend Earth with what we have here, she said slowly. But we make them think we are weaker than we are. Make them commit fully to the attack. Then we hit them with our forward fleets from behind. That is insane, Rathfur rumbled. If the timing is wrong, Earth burns. If we concentrate our forces, Earth burns slowly instead of quickly, Ji Wu countered. This way, we have a chance to end the threat completely. One decisive battle. Admiral Quan studied her face. You can coordinate this? Defend Earth while timing a counterattack from forces thousands of light years away. Yes, Ji Wu said with more confidence than she felt. The room fell silent. Finally, High Counselor May spoke. The fate of humanity rests on your shoulders, Commander. Though most of our species' histories, it would be an unfair burden to place on one so young. She paused. But you have already carried more than we had any right to ask. If you believe this can work, then humanity believes in you. One by one, the other counselors agreed. Supreme Commander Rathfur was last, giving Ji Wu a long look. I hope you are right, human. For all our sakes. Ji Wu immediately began coordinating the defense. Ships moved into position around Earth. Weapons platforms activated. Every available pilot was called to duty. And in secret, she sent coded messages to the forward fleets, giving them precise timing for their counterstrike. Hana found her in the command center at midnight, surrounded by tactical displays. The whole planet is watching, Hana said quietly. Every screen is showing the defense preparations. They are calling you the Guardian of Earth. I am just trying not to get everyone killed, Ji Wu said. That is what Guardians do, Hana replied. The Corvette fleet arrived in 47 hours, dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 3,000 ships, bristling with weapons, began their final approach to Earth. The battle for humanity's homeworld was about to begin. Chi Wu stood at her command post, surrounded by the best tactical officers the Council had. Admiral Quan stood beside her. On the main screen, the enemy fleet advanced like a dark tide. All defense forces, this is Commander Ji Wu, she broadcast on all channels. Hold your positions. Wait for my mark. Today, we show them why you never threaten Earth. The Corvith came on, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They did not know that the quiet girl they were facing had already planned their defeat, move by move. Like a chess game that had not been played yet, the battle was about to begin. The Corvith fleet crossed into the inner solar system like a swarm of locusts. 3,000 ships blotting out the stars. On Earth below, 8 billion people watched the sky and prayed. In orbit, the Council Defense Fleet looked pitifully small by comparison. Only 800 ships spread across defensive positions. Da Chi Wu stood at the command center on the orbital station, her hands steady on the tactical console, despite the fear churning in her stomach. Every decision she made in the next hours would determine if humanity survived or became extinct. Enemy fleet dividing into 3 attack groups. Lieutenant Bora reported from her station. Primary force heading for Earth orbit. Secondary forces moving to flank positions. Exactly as predicted, Ji Wu murmured. She had studied Corvith tactics for a year now, knew how they thought. They always struck with overwhelming force at the primary target while cutting off escape routes. They were not creative, just efficient. All ships hold formation. Let them come. Admiral Quan watched the enemy advance on the main display. They will be in weapons range in 12 minutes. Those 12 minutes felt like hours. Ji Wu monitored 100 different data streams simultaneously, tracking each enemy group, each friendly ship, calculating firing solutions and escape vectors. She had fought this battle in simulations 100 times over the past 2 days. But simulations did not capture the weight of real lives, depending on her choices. 8 minutes, Bora called out. All defense platforms. Charge weapons, but do not lock on yet, Ji Wu ordered. Make them think we are afraid to commit. The Corvith fleet accelerated, sensing weak prey. Their formation tightened, focusing firepower for maximum impact. They expected the Council fleet to scatter or retreat. It was what every previous battle had taught them to expect. 4 minutes. All ships execute pattern Delta, Ji Wu said calmly. Defense platforms, full activation on my mark. The Council fleet suddenly shifted, ships moving in precise coordination that looked like chaos, but was actually carefully orchestrated. Each species' strengths came into play. Fringe ships, small and fast, darted into unexpected positions. Unity World's heavy cruisers anchored the line. Human vessels moved unpredictably, never where the enemy expected. 2 minutes. They are adjusting formation to compensate. Let them adjust, Ji Wu said. They are committing exactly where we want them. The Corvith primary force pushed forward aggressively, trying to exploit what they thought was disorder in the Council formation. Their ships moved deeper into Earth's orbital space, weapons charging. 1 minute. They are in optimal firing range. Ji Wu watched the tactical display. The enemy fleet had formed into a dense attack formation, maximizing their firepower advantage. It was textbook Corvith strategy. It was also exactly the trap she had set. Now, Ji Wu said quietly, defense platforms, full power. All ships, execute strike pattern Omega. Hidden defense platforms that had been dark suddenly blazed to life, thousands of weapons emerging from the debris field of an old space station. The Corvith had scanned the debris and dismissed it as harmless wreckage. They were wrong. Simultaneously, the Council fleet stopped retreating and attacked with coordinated fury. Not at the enemy's strength, but at specific weak points Ji Wu had identified in their formation. Vryn ships hit the gaps between capital ships where point defense was weakest. Human squadrons targeted the command vessels with missile swarms that overwhelmed their defenses through sheer unpredictability. The Corvith formation, so perfectly organized for offense, became a liability. Ships blocked each other's firing lanes. Attempts to maneuver were hampered by their own tight formation. The first wave of their attack dissolved into chaos. Enemy primary force has taken 40% casualties, Bora reported, shock in her voice. They are trying to reform. Do not let them, Ji Woo ordered. All squadrons maintain pressure. Target their command ships specifically. Tae Hyen's voice came over the combat channel. Strike Team 7, confirmed kill on enemy command cruiser. Moving to next target. The battle raged for 3 hours. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes. Weapons fire crisscrossed the darkness. The Corvith, realizing they had been lured into a trap, tried to retreat and regroup. But Ji Woo had anticipated that too. Enemy attempting to disengage, an officer reported. Contact forward fleets, Ji Woo ordered. Execute Phase 2 now. Thousands of light years away, every council ship that was not defending Earth suddenly jumped into hyperspace. They had been waiting for this moment, positioned based on Ji Woo's calculations of exactly where the Corvith would retreat. The Corvette fleet, battered and disorganized, tried to fall back to regroup. Behind the moon, they jumped to the coordinates. Their command protocols designated as the safe rally point. Jumped directly into the guns of the Council. Counterattack fleet. The trap was perfect. The Corvette were caught between Earth's defenders and the fresh fleet that had just arrived. Surrounded, outnumbered for the first time in the war, they fought with desperate fury. But desperation was not enough against a strategy that had predicted their every move. Enemy fleet cohesion collapsing, Bora reported. Multiple ships surrendering. Their command structure is fragmenting. Ji Woo allowed herself a small breath of relief. But it was not over yet. Locate their flagship, the Supreme Leader's ship. Found it, Hana called from her engineering station. It is breaking away from the main fleet, heading for Earth on a suicide course. Ji Woo's blood went cold. One ship, loaded with weapons, crashing into Earth's surface would kill millions. Intercept course all available ships. They are too close, Admiral Kwan said grimly. No ship can reach them in time. Ji Woo looked at the tactical display, mind racing. No ship could reach them. But a small fighter, piloted by someone who understood Corvith navigation patterns. Who could anticipate their evasive maneuvers? I can, she said. Absolutely not, Kwan said immediately. There is no time to argue. Ji Woo was already running for the hangar. I know how they think. I can intercept. She ran through the corridors, hearing Hannah shouting behind her. The hangar was chaos, damaged ships returning, crews scrambling. Ji Woo jumped into the nearest fighter, a sleek human design meant for speed. Ji Woo, do not do this. Hana's voice came through the communication system. Someone has to, Ji Woo replied, powering up the engines. Take care of yourself, friend. The fighter launched before anyone could stop her. Earth filled her view, blue and beautiful and fragile. The Corvette flagship was a dark shape, accelerating toward the atmosphere. Ji-Woo pushed her engines to maximum, the fighter rattling with the speed. She was not a trained pilot. She had flown simulators, but never in real combat. But she understood vectors and velocities, could calculate intercept courses in her head. The Corvette ship tried to evade, exactly as she predicted. She adjusted course, staying on its tail. They entered the upper atmosphere, air screaming past her hull. Earth's surface grew closer, cities visible below. Ji Woo, you need to eject, Admiral Kwan's voice urged. You cannot catch them in time. But Ji Woo had already done the math. She could not catch them. But she did not need to. She armed her missiles, locked onto the enemy ship's engines, and fired everything at once. Then she pushed her fighter into a spinning dive, using Earth's gravity to accelerate. Her small ship screamed past the Corvaith flagship and slammed into its command section at impossible speed. The explosion was tremendous. The flagship broke apart, its pieces burning up in the atmosphere instead of crashing into the surface. And somewhere in that fireball was Ji Woo's fighter dot in the command center. Hana screamed. The entire staff stood in shocked silence, staring at the screens showing the destruction of the enemy flagship. Then, a weak signal. "This is Commander Ji Woo. Ejection pod intact. Someone want to come get me before I burn up completely?" The relief was palpable. Rescue ships scrambled to retrieve her pod. In space above, the Corvaith fleet, leaderless and shattered, surrendered en masse. The Battle of Earth was over. The war was over. Ji Woo's pod was recovered by a human patrol ship. When she climbed out, shaking and bruised, the entire crew saluted. News of what she had done was already spreading across every communication channel. The commander who had orchestrated the impossible defense and then personally stopped the suicide attack on Earth. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. Ji Woo stood before the assembly again, but this time was different. Every representative rose as she entered. High Counselor May placed a medal around her neck. "Commander Ji Woo," May said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "Savior of Earth, architect of victory, you have shown the galaxy what one person can accomplish when they see what others miss. You have our eternal gratitude." The applause went on for 5 minutes. Ji Woo stood there, overwhelmed, thinking about how far she had come from being the ignored girl in the corner of the cafeteria. After the ceremony, Admiral Kwan found her. "The Council wants to appoint you to High Command, Supreme Strategic Commander. You would be one of the youngest flag officers in history." Ji Woo thought about it, about the politics and bureaucracy, the endless meetings and posturing. She shook her head. "I want to teach." Kwan smiled like he had expected that answer. "Seoul Galactic Academy would be honored to have you on faculty." 6 months later, Ji Woo walked into a lecture hall at the academy. It was the same room where she had been ignored and dismissed, where Commander Dara had taught her to read intelligence reports. Now she stood at the front, looking at rows of new cadets. She saw them all. The confident ones in front, already sure of their importance. The quiet ones in the back, hoping not to be noticed. She knew both types well. "I am Commander Ji Woo," she began, "and I am going to teach you something important. You cannot judge someone's worth by how loud they are or how popular they seem. The person who saves your life might be sitting alone in the corner, seeing things you miss. The hero of tomorrow might be the one you ignore today." She paused, making eye contact with a girl in the back row who looked painfully familiar. "Your job as future officers is to see everyone, to value every perspective, to understand that intelligence comes in many forms. Because war does not care about popularity. It only cares about who can see the truth and act on it." Outside the window, Earth turned peacefully in space, safe because a quiet girl had refused to stay invisible when it mattered most. Her story would be told across the galaxy for generations. Not the story of how she became loud or popular or traditionally heroic, but the story of how she remained herself, saw what others missed, and changed everything. The students leaned forward, listening. Even the quiet ones in the back. Especially the quiet ones in the back. And in that moment, Ji Woo smiled. Because she knew that somewhere in this room might be the next person everyone underestimated. The next person who would see a pattern no one else could see. The next legend waiting to be born. She was going to make sure they were ready.